Good afternoon, and thank you so much to all of you for being here. After listening to all the speakers, I was like thinking, what are we going to do now? I'm going to share with you one of my short films that I have done with Human Rights Watch, who was my collaborator, and it still remains. And they say visuals and films still never die. And some people will never forget because of the visuals that are presented to us. Basically, the work that I do is informed by real life and human beings that are part and parcel of my work, and in which I call myself a visual activist. And it is through life experiences and also human experiences and people's movements and communities in which I'm part that informs all of this documentation. I will first give you a context so that you get a little bit of a picture before the glossy images and sophistication that maybe some people in the room who have seen my self-portraits, to basically say it comes from a space of pain, from some past trauma experiences that I've shared with other people, and also for one having to always declare who they are, you know. So when invited to speak on, I'll say life crisis, I just thought of a lot of young people that I've met along the way as I worked as back then as a full-time human rights activist or human rights defender. Most of them, they passed in their 20s. And as I always try to forget the pain that they went through, it keeps on coming back because I keep on referencing what happened and which then led to this one. After this short, I'll then come back and share some more. And I'll be more than willing to respond in case there's a burning issue or something that you want me to respond to immediately before we get to the bigger circle. Yeah, thank you so much. Enjoy.
I will be there forevermore. There's a special star that shines every evening in your eyes. Special star that shines. It's gonna hit a lullaby. Special, can you put Vaseline? Good. I'm Zanele Muholi, reporting live from South Africa. I'm a visual activist. I take photographs. The kind of work that I do is on queer politics, gender politics, politics of race. I'm fascinated by LGBTI individuals in different spaces. I've learned how beautiful this place is, how important our lives are, and why we should preserve a history about our own people, about us. Very, very interesting township. I've done a lot of shots here. I shot the first gay wedding here in 2002. I don't even know that there are lesbians who own dogs. This is for the first time that I know someone who owns a dog. The light is good here. Yeah. I'm going to shoot a follow-up portrait of Tumi. I used to be a hairstylist. Really? Yeah. We had a life before we came out. Somebody asked me how influential am I when it comes to these portraits. Then I said to people, I just want people to look good. Oh. I really, really want people to be fresh. We're going to Limpopo Pride.
I'm coming. When I leave the address.
We're connected by photography. I was doing photo shoot here in Guatemala, and I thought that she was just a very nice person to be in the Faces and Phases series that I'm working on. You have young generation that is growing up now who doesn't share maybe the same, commonalities like lesbians who who were out there in the 90s or late 80s before South Africa gained independence. The young lesbians now, they are socialites, connected by the social medias and all of that, and they're free when it comes to photographs, etc., etc. I know maybe some people get surprised when you start photographing.
I was surprised, but at the same time it was fun. I had fun and I didn't know that I'm photogenic. So since then, I like to take myself pictures.
So this is 3 years later. We are in the same township, and the township is so popular with
The killings.
with no gay lives. There are a lot of gay people in Guatemala, and also it has since become notorious for hate crimes because in 2008 a known black lesbian was brutally murdered here. 2012 was one of the most painful years in our history. We lost a lot of members of our communities, and hate crimes, specifically curative rapes and lesbian murders, became one of the brutality that is stained in our brains forever. We live in fear. Death happened to bind us. Hate crimes have become a binding factor for the LGBTI communities. We come together to either give support or to confirm that somebody has been killed. Then that person becomes a statistic. Another case number becomes part of our history. And what are we doing about it? Do we always go and attend funerals, and then after funerals you go home, you wait for another funeral? Why? You have to document. You are forced to document.
Transformation by
I don't
Zanele
only do
Muholi. Transformation by Zanele Muholi.
No, by you, this is your head. I'm using visuals as a way of creating awareness, capturing the moments, those truths and realities the world will learn about our cultures. I could give you something tangible and say, feel it, this is it, see. You invited to be in that space even though you were not there. So look, let's put it in and out. We're shooting faces, and faces not fashion. Yeah. There is the other side of me when I perform. There is the other side of me when I'm me. How will you engage with me? You look so gay, yeah? Nice. Actually, you look like a drag queen. Most of the time I work with people that I know. They're no strangers to me. I call the people who are in my photographs participants, because you partake in a project that will inform many audiences.
And when it comes to these young lesbians you are teaching?
Any person who's interested in learning is welcome to learn how to take photographs. I provide cameras as long as a person will be able to document what will then become a contribution towards Inganyeso, which is the organization that I formed. One cannot do these major projects alone, which is why I invited people to come on board and work with me. And it means that it's not lonely anymore. Take 5. I started this project called Inganyeso to ensure that people who are featuring in my photographs get a platform to share their own lives and work. People get to read about sex, people get to read about anything that they will never, in as much as South Africa is so democratic, they'll never see that kind of text in the mainstream media. Most of the team members, we are black lesbians. People occupy different positions within the Inganyeso crew. Bongi is a documenter, and Lerato is a graduate. She's a journalist, and we just posted a new story on Pep Smear that she wrote this morning. Now I had to beg Lerato to cut that hair, and look how beautiful this person is. He did Lerato's portrait in 2010, so we're gonna have a nice follow-up shot. I train, and I will continue to train with or without funding, because if I wait for someone to validate my existence, it will mean that I'm shortchanging myself. Recently, we had to decide whether we buy a fridge where we live or we buy a new lens. So we sleep on the floor, it's nice, documenting with my crew, it's fabulous. I love the people that I work with. A lot of people are reading this. Helps me, I think.
For, lesbian or even butch women, it's something that's, if I don't know if I can say taboo. But I don't know, you said you need me to revise it.
No, you have to do part 2.
Part 2, what's
I
part 2
feel
about?
the most. I don't think that you gave it your all, like how you write when you tackle the issues of hate crimes and other. What would you like to read about in the mainstream?
Not even read, even when seeing, I'd like to see an advert of a family where it's the mother and the baby, and they're fighting germs in the household. It shouldn't only be about the violence and the homophobia.
We want to bring about change in spaces that are queerphobic. We still have religious leaders who want to use homosexuality as scapegoat for their own hate. Instead of dealing with poverty, instead of dealing with the corrupted systems that we find ourselves in, and that's what leads to many hate crimes. See where there's white concrete wall? Is where Noxolo Nokwaza was found. Noxolo Nokwaza is a victim of hate crime who was brutally murdered. Her head was crushed with a big stone. Her teeth were all over the place. Noxolo Nokwaza's children are not the first to be orphaned by hate crimes. What will people say to the children what happened to their mothers? Noxolo's case is still outstanding. I don't know how far do they investigate these cases. We all document that lesbian funeral. Every person who has a cell phone with a camera, it doesn't matter what quality. And all of us come together in one space and download and share. You make that document viral. We want to say to our government, this is what I'm talking about when I talk of a lesbian funeral. It's my wish that we could find positive lesbian icons on Wikipedia as well, other than to always find brutal murders. You Google black lesbians in South Africa, you'll see what you see there. There's nothing that focuses on same-sex love versus these hate crimes. When do we start talking about intimacy? I produce pictures that are intimate because I'm an intimate being. This intimacy that disrupts the perpetrator leads to us being killed. It starts by the same-sex love that is disorganizing the mindset of the homophobe. More education is needed. Mainstream communities need to come on board and help us and ensure that there is no other hate crime. Projecting positivity sometimes can lead to the change. Projecting brutality and violations could lead to further violence. So I think that we need to find a balance in which we project these realities.
Let's go to the beach, each, let's go get away. Bang, what they gonna say? Hello, beauty.
Inkanyiso is at Limpopo Pride 2013. I came with the Inkanyiso crew last night. Once we're done here, we're going to put it up on social networks to make sure that people who might not be here understand what is taking place and get the visuals. People think that pink cities are Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg. People cannot even imagine that there's Limpopo Pride. It's very important for us to say that LGBTI individuals are all over. Any space is possible. So we're here to celebrate with the people of this province. It's about saying, I want to be counted in South African history. Claiming my full citizenship, it means that I have to write that part of history.
Let's have it, DJ, let's have the music there.
Thank you so much. I'm here to respond to any questions. Basically, when we speak about quarter-life crisis, we dare to think of the younger generation and the generation before them and the mothers who have given birth to these younger generations. So what I was trying to do here was to stress the need for collaborations, collaborating with people who are featuring in my work. What you have seen there is a number of bodies of work, from Faces and Phases to Being Series to Beulah's. These are separate projects that have been produced over a period of time, and Faces and Phases being one of those projects that has the 19th part or anniversary, and with Being Series since 2006, which is also another 19 years. And from there, it's in the previous project have informed my self-portraits, which are also ongoing. And what you're seeing there is one of them, in which I pay tributes to many individuals, from the mothers of these youngsters and also to friends and family members who are part and parcel of their lives. And other early on projects, pictures that I took when I was at photo school, these ones, which also looks at like identity crisis, like one of them is this one, and it was taken in 2004. So I have been focusing mainly on Black LGBTQIA+ communities in South Africa and beyond, to create a visual archive that I never had when I was that young person who came out at that time. And I work alongside a number of experts, and here it's either photographers or filmmakers, and we continue to document. Now, with the invention of AI, I guess we need to work together, but not to twist these realities, because they're based on real lives. And having learned from a lot of speakers who came before me, I'm just like thinking, how can we deal with trauma using the new systems as presented by Olaf and Nicola? And also to see if the future is possible without interfering too much with the negative vibes that tend to be in place when, a lot of people work together. Yeah. And if any person in the audience may like to know a little bit more with the 6 minutes remaining, I'll be more than willing to speak. Yes.
Can you all hear me? Yeah. Hi, thank you, Zanele. I have to say, I saw your exhibition at the Tate, and I think, the video was wonderful, but when you see her pictures enlarged, they're absolutely beautiful. So I'm really pleased to, I didn't realize it was you when I saw you in the room, but I love that exhibition, thank you. I used to live in South Africa, and I also worked a long time on HIV, AIDS, which obviously for many years also created a lot of discrimination in the LGBT community. And I was just wondering, given all the political changes and the shift to the right, with funding, US, whatever, and in other countries, despite the fantastic work you're doing and many others, where do you see the next 4 years or the future going in these changing times? And how can, people here help? Thanks.
That's a difficult question. I guess the next 4 years, the next 5 years is for us all to think through our current state, from Europe to Africa to America, because what is happening in the US now affects us, especially for most organizations that receive funding from the West or from America. We know the backlash, especially on LGBTQIA+ organizations, where those in power, they say, scrap out everything that has to do with gender, has to do with sexuality, has to do with what is against the nuclear family. So it hurts, because a lot of parents have queer and trans children. And I think it's up to all of us as a unit to speak against all of these traumatic experiences that our children are going through, you know. So thinking about like how do we carry on, I think we need to find projects in which we won't be dependent on the homophobes and transphobes and queerphobes, in which we say that we could do this without those people who are allergic to us. So I think that's the bravest step that we need to take, to say how can we depend on ourselves? In that way, we're able to make decisions without being reliant on people who are haters. That's step number one. And number two, to be as informed as much as possible. So every information that comes our way, to receive and process, and also to make sure that we make our immediate surroundings better and safer. Because then without safety and security, it means that it's impossible for us to exist. From schools to churches to any space where we exist, we need to make sure that we convey the right messages for everybody to feel respected, then to be tolerated. Yeah. So I'm being positive about the next 4 years. Maybe it's just me being ambitious. I don't want to think negative about it. So I just want to know that like that next 4 years, our children will live much better lives than what is going on right now, because it's just too painful. Yes.
In your video, you mentioned projecting positivity as a way to implement a change in the world, and you talked again right now about the positivity. I'd like you, if you agree, to elaborate a little bit on that. How I really like to hear that perspective. If you could elaborate, I'd love it. Thank you.
Okay. At the time when we were documenting hate crimes, I realized that the more we documented hate crimes, it's like the more perpetrators wanted to come out. It did not make the situation lesser than what we thought we were doing as we created awareness. So in my headspace, I just live in this island where I think negative really doesn't bring anything except that it just like breaks people. If now we were to agitate with aggression and violence, it would mean that some people will lose their lives. I think there are strategies in which we use in the most amicable manner that won't lead to further violence. I'm trying to simplify this complexity by thinking that violence doesn't take us anywhere really. But if we find ways in which we communicate, and in that way, it will undo the way in which the aggressor or the hater won't feel entertained. Because now, if you and I were to raise our voices, we'll be making a lot of noise. Then for someone to say that, can we try to kind of like find a mediator to deal with this situation, you know? This morning, a speaker spoke at one of the workshops, and speaking of like how they met someone or she met someone somewhere, and the person was against whatever that was going on in the East or Middle East. And they ended up kind of like reaching a point of collaborating, you know. Because then it really won't make sense if we're like screaming and shouting at each other and insulting each other. We won't reach anywhere. So it means that bit by bit, we need to find a way or a voice in which we connect, collaborate, communicate in order to find that, you know, or to settle that situation. It sounds easy right now, but I think it's possible. Or else, I mean, speaking from South Africa, would still be stuck in this big, ugly elephant called apartheid. If there were no peace accords in place, there were no mediators in place, we'd still be stuck in somewhere. But somewhere, somehow, there was a way in which we came almost to that close kind of space. Yeah. Is there another? I have 3 minutes. Speakers in place. Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to hear about the Faces and Phases journey that you were on.
Currently, I'm working on this big project that I started in 2006 after I lost a friend who became a survivor of hate crime and ended up positive. And then I thought I needed to produce an image or images that could memorize her living as an activist, also as a poet. And the project has been on since 2006. In this way, I didn't want to project only images of dead bodies, but I needed to produce images that spoke to living beings who are members of our community, and most of them were Black lesbians, bi women, same-gender loving women, and trans men. And some, those who were lesbian identifying, are now trans men, and some have transitioned in different ways. So their faces is what makes this, some of the portraits at the back there. And this is an installation at IMS in Sao Paulo currently, and this is how the installation looked like. I wanted to remember these people as how they are, how they feel, how they love, how they are received by different communities. And in academia, we say like it's an anthropological kind of take of visual anthropology without looking at how visual anthropologists of the past did really not respect us. So it meant that one had to produce images that spoke to the moment in the most dignified way. So the project is 19, and I've since extended the project from South Africa to Sao Paulo, to LA, to London, and I'll be photographing members of the community in Portugal next week. So, because we are everywhere, and we will never be erased in history, and I think that the only way in which we could speak for ourselves is for us to produce the visual content that speaks to the moment, which then informs the future or the future generations who might need a reference point and look at the people who existed before them, and then maybe the projections or presentation might not be like this one, it might be different, you know. Yeah. I don't know how many human beings in the audience who feel like me, or mothers of queer and trans children. Please note that you are not alone. Yes, because without you loving your own children, nobody would do that business for you. So if you know someone, and that someone knows someone, and you might not be related at all, but please try to be kinder. And because people need you, we need you, and your children need you. Nobody would take on that bet for you. I guess with all that said, I'm online. Yeah, and to say to Anelik, thank you so much for your patience. To Philip, thank you so much for giving us this platform to be here. I'm grateful. Thank you.